What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Resident Evil 2 remake, because I just beat the demo, and honestly, it was so freaking good. But more than that, it's actually terrifying. And I say this as somebody who beat the original version of Resident Evil 2 about 86 separate times. This demo is so good, but it has an interesting twist to it, which is that you only get one chance to beat it. Essentially, you log in and you have 30 minutes to get as deep into the game as you can before you eventually die or you just run out of time. In this, I managed to get pretty dang far, but I was only able to play as Leon. So all this gameplay here is just stuff I did today, and it's so great. So really, I just want to give you some raw, off-the-cuff impressions as to what I think of this demo, because it is such a peculiar remake. Now, I very much realize that this is something that is a true reimagining of the original Resident Evil 2, and something that immediately jumped out to me is that they very clearly have actually tweaked the story. Some of the things that Leon said, referencing his past and what he was doing before he came to Raccoon City, makes me think that they've actually overhauled a big chunk of the plot. And along with that, almost every single story beat has been rearranged. While you may meet the same characters, they certainly won't be in the same places. And I absolutely love this about it. It made it where, even though I know this map pretty well and I understand to shoot zombies in the head, it's still something that is going to basically be full of twists and turns that I never could have seen coming. So let's talk a little bit about the new combat, because you are going to be doing this a lot. This is still first and foremost a spooky shooter, and this is where things have been very, very dramatically overhauled. It is built on the engine of Resident Evil 7, so it has a lot of that same speed of turning and basically the way you aim, but the big difference is now knives. Basically, whenever a zombie comes up, you can stab them, or if you're getting bit, you can take that knife and stab it into them, which basically is a way to try and push it off. And once it's off you, if you kill that zombie, you can, if you want, go up and retrieve the knife. Each time you do this, though, it is very damaged. It looks like on just a typical squishy zombie, you have about 3 stabs per knife before it's permanently broken and you need to find another one. Now, something that very, very much is in this game that it almost sort of transcends words is it seems like there is some sort of adaptive difficulty, and really that's the only way to describe it. And basically what I mean is that, so as I was playing this, I noticed that some enemies would be stronger or some enemies would be weaker depending on how well I was playing. If I was solving every puzzle instantly and getting tons and tons of headshots, more zombies would literally sometimes just be popping out of windows. More things to try and slow me down and make me afraid. I also had a time where at one point I actually got stuck on a puzzle and I was trying to just figure out how to open up all these different lockers. And while I was messing with it, I spent probably 2 or 3 minutes in this room just looking around. And suddenly, somebody started beating on the door. A zombie actually broke down the door, came in there, and tried to eat my face. And it seemed like this was something that was the game adapting to me. It realized, okay, we gotta crank up that intensity. We gotta keep sapping his resources. We have to keep him aware of the fact that every other person in this building is most likely dead. So you need to try and be alert because nobody can back you up. This is extra well conveyed when it comes to just the environmental storytelling. Now, each of the early Resident Evil games managed to do this in a really good way by basically having barricades all over the place or shutters that you could tell were pulled down in an emergency. But all of that great tension that is built up by cool backgrounds has been cranked up to be about 10 times more frightening. I mean, just look at stuff like these random piles of paramedic gear. You can tell that this place, along with being a police station, was also being used as emergency shelter. People who are very likely bit were coming here as some form of refuge, only to end up turning and killing the cops that were there to try and protect them. And along with this, I noticed things like claw marks on the walls of where something major like a licker or a hunter had come through here. And seeing these big scratches and horrible dragging bloody marks on the ground, you really get the idea that this place is super super, super screwed. There are some other things in this game that are very environmentally focused, which kind of caught me off guard, like you can actually barricade stuff now. Whenever you find wooden boards on the ground, you can actually use them to actually seal up windows. I wasn't able to see anything else, so maybe later on this will be used for some other purpose, but right now it basically just seems like if you find enough of these wooden planks, you could seal up a bunch of entrances, make it where more zombies won't appear in a particular area. Now, I don't know how well this works in the long run. Obviously, I could only play the game for 30 minutes, but maybe over time they decay. If a zombie beats on the window long enough or beats on the wood long enough, it will eventually crumble perhaps. I'm still not exactly sure. But what is really cool to me is that it seems like the game tries to actually keep things sort of minimalistic when it comes to the monsters themselves. Now what I mean by that is, throughout this demo I of course blasted a ton of freaking zombies and got a lot of headshots, but I didn't shoot a bunch of different zombies. What you'll probably notice here specifically is that sometimes I'll see a zombie in a hallway that's like a lady cop, and I'll shoot her in the head and she falls over and pretends to be dead. But when I'm coming through this hallway later, because there's no load screens, the game doesn't really have a way of trying to sneak new foes in there. So instead, those same bad guys will actually keep getting back up. Some people seem to be almost unkillable. I mean, in one spot when I was going up and down this staircase, I kept having these same 3 enemies repeatedly come after me, no matter how many times I basically liquefied their brains. If you do not fully destroy somebody's head, it seems like they have the ability to, later on, pull themselves back up, and I mean that quite literally. Now this is cool, but it also does make me a little bit worried, because if this game has as much backtracking as the original Resident Evil 2 had, it is going to be a little bit boring if I keep seeing the same guy in blue jeans over and over again. I want different monsters to push me into different directions, that way I'm constantly frightened by the true unknown. Of all the things in this demo that really managed to impress me, I have to say that I am very much blown away by how much they were able to do in the graphics department and the sound design. There were so many creaks and groans and pops that really made it where it always felt like there was going to be another monster just popping out of some glass. But along with that, the voice acting is way better. They've done a lot of stuff just to try and tweak with the graphics and overall visual representation that really works. Like at one point, there was this guy who died on the ground, and so I pulled a map out of his pocketbook, and another cop decided to basically decipher it for me and show me this map. I could see all the little individual flecks of blood on the map, but also there was just such a gritty realness to it. It actually fully looks like something that was carried around in somebody's pocket. This, to me, appears to be an actual object in the real world. But the best part about it is that even to me, somebody who is obsessed with Resident Evil, this feels like a new game. This is not a retread, this isn't a beat-for-beat remake, this is a new game built upon the foundation of Resident Evil 2. Every surprise is fresh, every puzzle is completely different, and every monster wants your blood in an all-new way. I am definitely going to be buying this game, of course, day one, but more than that, I'm going to try and get the collector's edition. Along with this, of course, I'm going to be doing a full-blown review of the game just because I'm so freaking hyped for it. I want to beat this entire game, both the campaigns, get every single unlockable and every single mode, just to see how much this stacks up to every other Resident Evil in the series. And hopefully, what really kind of gets me is that if they already have this system built now, it really gets my imagination going of a possible remake of Resident Evil 3 that is just this amazing. But what do you guys think? Have any of you gotten a chance to actually sit down and try out the Resident Evil 2 Remake demo? What did you think of it? Did you manage to finish it and get the actual ending, or did you get lost in this police station only to end up as somebody's lunch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor, give it a like, share with your friends, and keep dreaming. Honestly, I kind of want to try and delete my profile and install this again to see if I can play it a second time, because it's just that good. Maybe I'll stream it. We'll see. Do you guys want to see a Resident Evil stream? Maybe I'll put that on the to-do list. thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.